Hi everybody, I just got back from yoga. I had a great class tonight, and I got home and I had a nice surprise waiting for me. Been working on the sourdough, as you know, and trying to figure out different ways because it seems like every time you bake it, there is a way to improve or alter the way that you prepared it, and the outcome will eventually come out in whatever way you're hoping for. It always comes out in a different way. So I made some dough last night, and from what I understood, putting it in the refrigerator to proof is recommended for a more sour flavor. So what I did is I made up the dough using my KitchenAid as the kneading process rather than doing it by hand. And then I went ahead and I stuck it in a bowl, in my Banneton bowl, and I put saran wrap over the top, and I put it in the refrigerator. And when I woke up this morning, it hadn't moved. So that kind of concerned me, but I figured there's got to be a way to save it because sourdough is pretty forgiving. So what I did is I took it out of the Banneton. It had nice rings around it, looked beautiful, but it hadn't risen. So what I did is I started kneading it by hand to warm it up. So the goal was to warm it up and try to stretch it, get the gluten going. I added some flour to my hands and a little bit of water to my hands because it was really sticky, which you want, but you want it to be able to, you want to be able to do it by hand, and if it's too sticky, you won't be able to knead the dough. So I did that, I warmed it up, and then I ended up putting it on a heating pad on low setting, and also putting a light to warm up the dough. And lo and behold, 6-7 hours later, we have a double rice. So I'm really happy about that, and I'm ready to go. I'm going to be trying a Dutch oven this time for baking. And what you want to do is you want to take the Dutch oven with the lid on. This is a cast iron one. And you want to preheat the oven with it in there, because cast iron doesn't want extreme hot or cold. So go ahead and set the oven to 450 degrees is what we're going to start with. I'm going to put this in there while it's heating up, and then once it has heated up, I'm going to remove it from the oven, and I'm going to go ahead and place the dough on some parchment paper that's been lined with some flour, and I'm going to sit it in here, and then we're going to close it. And that's going to create a steam and maybe a little bit of oven rise, oven spring as well to our dough. So the first step I'm going to do is preheat the oven to 450, put this in there, and we'll be right back. Okay, now that our oven is preheated to 450 degrees, we're going to add a little bit of flour at the top of the parchment paper, and then we're going to turn the dough over onto the parchment paper. This is where it gets tricky. You want to make sure that this is well seasoned. Okay, this is a Banneton bowl. It's just like little bamboo strips that have been placed together. What I did is I sprinkled a little bit of water inside the bowl, or you can spray it if you have a sprayer. And then I took some flour and I put it in there, and I kind of tilted the bowl and made sure the entire bowl was covered. And I did that multiple times. And then prior to putting the dough in here, I added a little more flour. And you want to place the top of the dough to the bottom so that these lines appear on your dough, and it makes it look really pretty. So this would actually be the bottom of the dough. So we're going to turn this over, and we're going to hope that it comes out without sticking. Looks like so far we're doing okay. And as you can see, that didn't work out so great. The first one I did worked out great, but this one, it stuck. And I have a feeling that the reason it stuck is because I had it on the heating pad warming up because it wasn't proofing. So that's okay. We just won't have the circles on the bottom, which is fine. Not a big deal. It also comes with this little cap here, and you can put the cap over the top to either use it for proofing, or you can push it down and put the dough right on top of this as well. But you also have to make sure that this is thoroughly floured. So the reason why it stuck this time is there are a few, if you can see here, there are a few lines that made it, but because of the heating pad, the rest of them didn't make it, which is okay because, quite honestly, I'm surprised we were able to even get it to rise after sitting in the fridge all night. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put this into the Dutch oven and get it cooking for at least 30 minutes. Okay, so we have some really thick insulated gloves because the cast iron gets really hot. And these go up to 480 something degrees. So make sure you have good gloves when pulling this out because it's going to be really hot. So I'm going to actually just pull this here. And I want to keep this lid right here. Place that in there like that. Put the lid on it. The lid will help steam it. Close it up, and we'll take the lid off in about 30 minutes. We're back. After we put the dough in the oven, we lowered the temperature to 400 degrees. So we preheated the oven with the Dutch oven in there at 450, and then as soon as we put the dough in, we lowered the temperature to 400 degrees and we cooked it for 30 minutes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the lid off and let it cook for 10-20 minutes. So let's do that. It smells really good, even though it's probably be flatbread. Yeah. So go ahead and leave that in there as well so that it doesn't get temperature shock and end up cracking. So we'll go ahead and cook it for about 10 more minutes, and then we'll check the internal temperature, which should be about 190 to 200 degrees, because once you take it out, it's going to at least increase by 10 degrees. You don't want it to go over 210. Okay, so we put the dough in for 30 minutes the original time, took the lid off, and then we cooked it for another 10 minutes, and we are at 204 degrees, which tells us that our bread is done. It smells like bread. And I have a good feeling that the texture is really awesome inside. And since we let it ferment overnight, it's going to have a really good sourdough flavor to it. But it looks like a giant flat cookie. But that's okay because this happens to the best of us. And it's a learning process. It's not a waste because you can still eat it. When it cools off, I'll cut it into slices and butter it and eat it. It's great. I'm sure it looks beautiful inside. I'll show you a picture of that once we cool it off for about 20 minutes or so, and we'll be right back. Okay, now with a really nice bread knife or any kind of serrated knife for cutting bread, we're going to go ahead and cut into this and see how it looks. Wow, look at that. It looks really good inside. It smells really good. It has a nice crunchy exterior. So that's pretty right on. We're doing good with that. We just need to work on trying to get the proofing to stay when we transfer it over. So now that the bread is done, let's give it a try. That was kind of a joke because literally I only have 3 pieces left because nobody in my family enjoyed the bread. So this is what we have left of our entire loaf. And I just want to show you, as you can see, all the bubbles, air pockets and stuff in there. It was a really chewy bread, and I give credit to that for the Dutch oven because it steams it really well. It's definitely much moister on the inside because of that as well. That it's kind of a chewier bread, which is really good if that's what you prefer. So let's go ahead and give it a try. It's really, really good. I'm enjoying it. So I recommend doing the proofing in the refrigerator if you're interested in a more sourdough flavor. I did really enjoy the flavor of this bread compared to the others that I have made in the past because of the proofing in the refrigerator. But this is a whole learning process. Every time you make bread, you get a different result, whether it's from the humidity or the dryness in the air, the temperatures, altitude. All these things contribute to bread making. There is one thing to keep in mind for next time, and that is that you need to proof it for a little while so you can start seeing a bit of rise prior to putting it in the refrigerator. This time we didn't do that. We kneaded the bread, put it in the refrigerator, because everything that I have read in books and online say that you can proof it in the refrigerator, which means proofing, letting it rise. So I don't know why that they leave out that vital point that it needs to proof before you put it in the refrigerator and then you let it sit in the refrigerator, because they call it proofing in the refrigerator. So go ahead and let it, we're gonna try this for you. Let it proof a little bit, even maybe all the way or half of the way, and then put it in the refrigerator overnight, because it did not move at all when it was in the refrigerator overnight, and then take it out and bake it from there. So that's the next thing we're gonna try, as well as using spelt flour that I just received in the mail. I have an organic spelt flour from Bob's Red Mill, and I want to try that. It's more of a whole grain. It's a little bit healthier for you, and I want to try the texture and moisture that this creates. So hope you like this video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for future videos, and have a great day.